The coin sitting in someone's pocket change right now could be worth far more than 1 cent. In fact, certain 1973 D. Lincoln pennies have sparked excitement among collectors for decades, turning an ordinary coin into a fascinating treasure hunt. At first glance, the 1973 D. Lincoln cent looks completely normal. It's small, copper-colored, and easy to overlook. But hidden within millions of these coins are varieties, minting quirks, and exceptionally preserved examples that have captured the attention of the numismatic world. The story begins in Denver, Colorado, where the United States Mint produced more than 3.6 billion Lincoln cents in 1973. To identify their origin, these coins received a small D mint mark beneath the date. The massive production numbers meant that the Denver Mint was working around the clock to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. Most of those pennies entered everyday commerce and were spent without a second thought. Yet history has shown that even coins made in enormous quantities can become valuable under the right circumstances. To understand why collectors care about the 1973 D penny, we first need to look at the Lincoln cent itself. The design traces its roots back to 1909, when it was introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse features Lincoln's profile, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. It was the first regular circulating U.S. coin to depict a real historical figure. On the reverse of the 1973 D penny, viewers see the familiar Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. What makes the 1973 D cent particularly interesting is that it belongs to an era just before major changes transformed American coinage. During the early 1970s, inflation was rising, metal prices were fluctuating, and the mint faced increasing pressure to produce coins efficiently. The 1973 D penny was still struck in the traditional bronze composition consisting primarily of copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc. This composition gives the coin its distinctive appearance and historical appeal. As billions of pennies rolled off the presses, perfection was not always guaranteed. Minting machinery operated at incredible speeds, and small errors occasionally slipped through quality control. Most people never noticed them, but sharp-eyed collectors certainly did. Over time, specialists began examining 1973 D cents under magnification, searching for unusual characteristics that could separate an ordinary penny from a valuable collectible. One area of interest involves die varieties. During production, dies wear down, develop imperfections, and sometimes exhibit doubling. Certain 1973 D pennies display subtle doubled features that attract variety collectors. While not every example commands huge premiums, rare and dramatic varieties can sell for significantly more than face value. The challenge lies in identifying authentic examples, as many forms of damage can mimic true mint errors. Another fascinating aspect involves strike quality. Because billions were produced, not every coin emerged with crisp details. Collectors seek examples showing exceptionally sharp Lincoln Memorial details, strong lettering, and clean surfaces. Coins that escaped circulation and remained in pristine condition are surprisingly difficult to find. After all, pennies are among the most heavily used coins in everyday commerce. This is where rarity takes an unexpected turn. While the 1973 D penny itself is common, top-quality specimens are anything but common. In the world of coin collecting, condition often matters more than mintage. A coin produced by the billions can become genuinely scarce if very few survive in exceptional condition decades later. Imagine two identical 1973 D pennies. One spent years bouncing through cash registers, vending machines, and piggy banks. The other was carefully preserved shortly after leaving the mint. Today, the circulated example may still be worth only a cent or two, while the pristine specimen could command hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That dramatic difference is one of the reasons coin collecting remains so exciting. Over the years, grading services have examined thousands of 1973 D cents. The highest grade examples are particularly prized because they represent the finest known survivors from an enormous production run. Competition among collectors can become intense when one of these elite coins appears at auction. Registry set collectors, who strive to assemble the best possible collections, often bid aggressively for top-ranked pieces. Auction records have demonstrated this phenomenon repeatedly. Ordinary uncirculated examples may sell for modest amounts, but coins certified at the very highest grades can achieve astonishing prices. In some cases, superb gem specimens have realized thousands of dollars because so few exist with flawless surfaces, exceptional luster, and outstanding strike quality. Yet condition is only part of the mystery. Error coins add another layer of intrigue. Throughout the years, collectors have discovered off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other minting mistakes among 1973 pennies. These errors transform ordinary cents into unique artifacts of the minting process. Since no two errors are exactly alike, determining value often depends on the error's visibility, rarity, and overall eye appeal. One of the most thrilling aspects of coin collecting is the possibility of discovery. Stories occasionally emerge about collectors searching through old jars, inherited collections, or bankrolls and finding unusual Lincoln cents hiding in plain sight. The excitement comes from not knowing what might appear next. Every penny has a story, and sometimes that story turns out to be surprisingly valuable. The 1973 penny also reflects a fascinating period in American history. The early 1970s were marked by significant economic and social change. Americans were experiencing rising prices, technological advancements, and shifting cultural landscapes. Through it all, billions of small copper cents passed from hand to hand, silently witnessing daily life across the nation. Each surviving coin serves as a tiny historical time capsule from that era. Many people assume that only ancient coins or century-old rarities can become valuable. The 1973 cent challenges that assumption. It demonstrates how condition, scarcity within a grade, and collector demand can elevate even relatively modern coins. This lesson has inspired countless hobbyists to pay closer attention to the coins they encounter every day. Collectors often examine the coin's color as well. Copper coins are typically classified as brown, red-brown, or red. Fully red examples retain much of their original mint color and are generally more desirable. Finding a 1973 penny that has preserved its bright original appearance for more than 50 years is not easy, making such coins especially attractive to serious collectors. As the decades pass, the supply of high-quality examples continues to shrink. Coins become lost, damaged, cleaned, or improperly stored. Every year, pristine survivors become a little harder to find. This gradual reduction helps explain why exceptional specimens maintain strong interest among collectors. Perhaps the most compelling part of the 1973 Lincoln penny story is its accessibility. Unlike many famous rarities locked away in museums or elite collections, this coin can still be found by ordinary people. It might be hiding in an old coin jar, tucked inside a forgotten drawer, or resting in a family collection that has not been examined in years. That possibility keeps the hunt alive. What appears to be a simple 1-cent coin is actually a remarkable blend of history, craftsmanship, economics, and discovery. From the busy presses of the Denver Mint to the auction rooms where top specimens compete for attention, the 1973 Lincoln penny has traveled an extraordinary journey. It reminds us that value is not always obvious at first glance, and that hidden treasures can exist in the most unexpected places. So the next time you come across an old penny, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that tiny D mint mark. Examine the details, the color, and the condition. You may be holding a piece of history, or perhaps something far more valuable than anyone would ever expect. And that raises an intriguing question. If billions of 1973 Lincoln pennies were made, how many hidden treasures are still waiting to be discovered today? The coin you're about to hear about looks completely ordinary at first glance. A simple Lincoln penny dated 1975. Millions were made, millions were spent, and millions still sit forgotten in jars and drawers across America. But hidden among those common pennies is a mystery that has fascinated collectors for decades. Some believe a tiny detail or the complete absence of one could turn an ordinary 1-cent coin into a treasure worth thousands of dollars. The story of the 1975 Lincoln penny begins during a fascinating period in American history. The United States was recovering from economic uncertainty, inflation was rising, and everyday Americans were feeling the pressure of changing times. Through it all, the humble Lincoln cent remained a constant presence in pockets, cash registers, and bank rolls across the nation. The Lincoln cent itself had already become an American icon. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin carried Lincoln's portrait on the front and became one of the most recognizable coins in American history. By 1975, the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint were all producing Lincoln cents. Most pennies from Denver carried a D mint mark. San Francisco struck proof coins for collectors with an S mint mark. Philadelphia, however, did something different, and this is where the mystery begins. Unlike today, Philadelphia pennies in 1975 did not carry a mint mark. If you find a standard 1975 Lincoln penny without any mint mark beneath the date, that coin was struck in Philadelphia. To most people, that sounds completely normal. But over the years, confusion surrounding mint marks has created countless rumors, stories, and treasure hunting adventures. Many people have heard claims about a 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln penny being extremely rare. They search old piggy banks, inherited collections, and coin rolls hoping to uncover a fortune. The reality is more complicated and far more interesting. The vast majority of 1975 pennies without a mint mark are common coins. Philadelphia produced billions of Lincoln cents that year. Most circulated heavily and today are worth only a few cents unless they are in exceptional condition. Yet condition can change everything. Collectors are always searching for coins that survive decades without wear. A perfectly preserved 1975 penny with brilliant original luster, sharp details, and no signs of circulation can command surprisingly strong prices. Professional grading services carefully examine such coins, assigning numerical grades that determine their rarity and value. As the grade increases, the number of surviving examples decreases dramatically. While ordinary specimens remain common, top-grade examples become elusive treasures. Some high-grade 1975 Lincoln cents have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars simply because so few exist in pristine condition. But condition is only part of the story. The real excitement begins when collectors start searching for minting errors. Every coin is produced through a complex manufacturing process involving metal blanks, dies, presses, and quality control procedures. Occasionally, something goes wrong. A die may crack. A blank may be improperly prepared. The coin might be struck off-center. Sometimes doubling appears on letters or numbers. These mistakes create unique coins that collectors eagerly pursue. Among 1975 Lincoln cents, certain error varieties have attracted significant attention. Double die effects, repunched mint marks on Denver issues, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and dramatic die breaks can all transform an ordinary penny into a collectible rarity. Imagine finding a penny worth 1 cent and discovering that a tiny manufacturing mistake has increased its value hundreds of times over. That possibility is what keeps coin roll hunters searching year after year. One of the most persistent mysteries surrounding the 1975 Lincoln cent involves confusion with another famous rarity from the same year, the legendary 1975 no-S proof Lincoln cent. This coin is not the same as a regular Philadelphia penny. Proof coins are specially manufactured collector coins struck with extraordinary care. In 1975, proof Lincoln cents produced at the San Francisco Mint should have carried an S mint mark. Yet a tiny number were accidentally struck without the mint mark. The result was one of the most famous modern Lincoln cent rarities ever discovered. Only a handful of authentic examples are known today. These coins became legendary almost immediately after their discovery. Collectors realized they were witnessing one of the rarest modern U.S. coin errors in existence. As years passed, demand exploded. Auction houses watched prices climb higher and higher as wealthy collectors competed for ownership. What started as a simple penny became one of the most coveted treasures in American numismatics. Stories of these rare proof pennies spread across newspapers, coin magazines, and collector communities. Suddenly, people everywhere began checking their change and old collections. Unfortunately, many misunderstood the story and assumed that any 1975 penny without a mint mark was valuable. That misunderstanding continues to this day. The ordinary Philadelphia penny has no mint mark because it was never supposed to have one. The famous rarity is the proof coin that should have carried an S, but does not. Still, the confusion has fueled decades of treasure hunting. Perhaps that is part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. Every coin tells a story. Some stories involve history. Some involve errors. Some involve incredible luck. Imagine being the collector who opens an old proof set inherited from a relative and notices something unusual. A missing letter. A tiny detail overlooked by everyone else. That moment of discovery can transform an ordinary collection into a national headline. Over the years, numerous stories have emerged about valuable coins found in forgotten places. Old dresser drawers, estate sales, garage sales, family collections untouched for generations. While most discoveries turn out to be common coins, occasionally a genuine rarity appears. Those rare moments keep the dream alive. For the 1975 Lincoln penny, collector demand remains strong because Lincoln cents have one of the largest collector bases in the world. Millions of enthusiasts build date and mint collections, search for varieties, and hunt for exceptional examples. As a result, even common dates can become valuable under the right circumstances. A beautifully preserved 1975 penny with blazing red surfaces may attract competitive bidding. An unusual error coin may generate excitement among specialists. And if someone were lucky enough to discover an authentic 1975 no-S-proof Lincoln cent, they could be looking at a coin worth tens of thousands or even more, depending on market conditions and collector demand. That possibility transforms an ordinary penny into something magical. It is no longer just a coin. It becomes a mystery, puzzle, a hidden piece of history waiting to be recognized. Every scratch, every detail, every minting characteristic tells part of its story. The coin becomes a witness to an era, surviving decades while passing through countless hands before finally landing in the collection of someone who appreciates its significance. And perhaps that is the true value of coin collecting. Not merely the money, not merely the rarity, but the thrill of discovery, the feeling that history can still be found in the most unexpected places. The 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln penny may not automatically make someone rich, but it represents something far more fascinating, the possibility that extraordinary stories can hide within ordinary objects. Some are common, some are rare, and a very small number become legends. So the next time you find an old penny dated 1975, take a closer look. Examine the details. Check the condition. Search for unusual characteristics. You never know what story that tiny coin might be waiting to tell. And now the question is this. If you discovered a forgotten jar filled with old pennies today, would you take the time to search through every single one, knowing that a hidden treasure might be waiting among them? Have you ever looked at a simple penny and wondered if it could be hiding a secret worth hundreds, or even thousands of dollars? Most people would never give a second glance to a worn 1984 Lincoln penny. It sits quietly in jars, piggy banks, cash registers, and forgotten drawers across America. Yet beneath its ordinary appearance lies a fascinating story that has captured the attention of collectors for decades. The story begins in 1984, a year when millions of Americans carried these pennies in their pockets without realizing they were holding a small piece of history. At first glance, the coin seems completely ordinary. On the front appears the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected presidents in American history. On the reverse stands the iconic Lincoln Memorial, a design that had represented the penny since 1959. What makes many people curious is the missing mint mark. New collectors often believe that the absence of a mint mark must be a mistake. After all, most coins carry a small letter indicating where they were produced. But here is where the mystery begins. In 1984, pennies struck at the Philadelphia Mint were not supposed to have a mint mark. The lack of a letter beneath the date was perfectly normal. Philadelphia had produced coins without mint marks for most of its history. As a result, hundreds of millions of 1984 pennies entered circulation exactly as intended. Yet the misunderstanding surrounding the coin has created one of the most interesting stories in modern coin collecting. People across the country continue to search through old penny collections, convinced they may have discovered a rare treasure. Sometimes they are disappointed, but occasionally, that search leads to something truly remarkable. To understand why collectors remain fascinated by the 1984 penny, we need to travel deeper into its history. The Lincoln cent itself has a legendary past. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Before Lincoln appeared on the cent, American coins typically displayed symbolic images rather than actual people. By 1984, the Lincoln cent had already become one of the most recognized coins in the world. Every detail of its design carried meaning. Lincoln's portrait symbolized leadership and perseverance. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse represented national unity and historical legacy. For generations of Americans, the coin served as a daily reminder of the nation's history. The minting process behind the 1984 penny was equally impressive. Massive presses operated around the clock, striking coin after coin at incredible speed. Millions were produced every week. Most emerged perfectly normal. But whenever coins are manufactured on such a large scale, unusual mistakes can occur. And that is where the story becomes far more exciting. Among the countless ordinary 1984 pennies, a small number displayed a dramatic error known today as the doubled ear variety. This famous variety transformed an otherwise common coin into one of the most sought-after Lincoln cent errors of the decade. At first, the difference can be difficult to spot. But under magnification, collectors noticed something unusual. Lincoln's ear appeared doubled. The extra outline created a striking visual effect that was impossible to ignore once discovered. Experts believe the error originated during the die creation process. A slight misalignment produced doubling that was transferred onto every coin struck from that particular die. As these coins entered circulation, they mixed with millions of ordinary pennies, largely unnoticed for years. Then collectors began finding them. The discovery sparked excitement throughout the numismatic community. Suddenly, people who had ignored 1984 pennies started examining them closely. Coin dealers received inquiries from hopeful collectors. Searchers combed through rolls of pennies, hoping to uncover the valuable variety. Stories soon emerged of lucky individuals finding examples in pocket change, inherited collections, and forgotten coin jars. These discoveries fueled the belief that hidden treasures were still waiting to be found. Collector demand steadily increased. While a normal circulated 1984 no-mint mark penny is generally worth only a few cents, the doubled ear variety can command much higher prices. Well-preserved examples have sold for hundreds of dollars, and exceptional specimens in high grades have achieved significantly larger amounts. The difference between an ordinary coin and a valuable variety often comes down to tiny details invisible to the naked eye. That reality fascinates collectors because it turns every penny into a potential mystery. Condition also plays a critical role in value. Coin grading experts carefully evaluate factors such as luster, surface preservation, strike quality, and overall appearance. A coin that survived decades without heavy wear can be worth dramatically more than one that spent years circulating through the economy. This is why collectors continue searching for pristine examples. Even common date pennies can become surprisingly desirable when preserved in exceptional condition. Another fascinating aspect of the 1984 penny is the psychology surrounding coin collecting itself. Humans are naturally drawn to hidden treasures. The possibility that an ordinary object might possess extraordinary value creates a sense of adventure. Every penny becomes a clue. Every date becomes a question. Every missing mint mark invites speculation. The 1984 no-mint mark penny perfectly illustrates this phenomenon. Millions exist, yet countless people continue investigating them. The coin has become a symbol of the dream that valuable discoveries may still be hiding in everyday places. There are also persistent myths surrounding the coin. Online listings occasionally advertise ordinary 1984 pennies for enormous prices. These listings can create confusion among new collectors. The reality is that most examples are common and worth only face value unless they possess an important error, unusual variety, or exceptional grade. This contrast between perception and reality has become part of the coin's story. The excitement generated by rumors often introduces new people to the hobby, encouraging them to learn more about minting, grading, and American history. Today, the 1984 Lincoln penny remains one of the most searched modern U.S. coins. Not because every example is rare, but because its story combines history, mystery, and the possibility of discovery. It reminds us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes the most interesting treasures are hidden in plain sight. Somewhere right now, a forgotten jar of pennies may contain a remarkable variety waiting to be identified. A collector could stumble upon a high-grade example tucked away in an old collection. Another person might discover the famous doubled ear error while casually examining spare change. That possibility keeps the hunt alive. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of the 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. It teaches us that curiosity matters. It encourages us to look closer at the ordinary objects around us. Because every coin carries a story, and sometimes those stories are far more valuable than the metal itself. So the next time you find a 1984 Lincoln penny, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Examine the details. Search for the unexpected. You might be holding nothing more than a single cent, or you might be holding a fascinating piece of numismatic history. What about you? Have you ever searched through old pennies and discovered a coin that seemed ordinary at first, but turned out to be something special? I want to tell you about a coin that most people have seen, spent, or ignored without a second thought. A coin so common that millions of Americans carried it in their pockets during the 1980s. Yet hidden among these ordinary pennies is one particular piece that has sparked excitement among collectors, fueled treasure-hunting dreams, and raised a fascinating question. Could a simple 1985 D Lincoln penny be worth far more than 1 cent? At first glance, the 1985 D Lincoln penny looks completely ordinary. It features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Nothing about its appearance immediately suggests rarity or value. But as every serious coin collector knows, some of the greatest treasures in numismatics are hidden in plain sight. The story begins in Denver, Colorado, home of the Denver Mint. During 1985, the Mint produced an astonishing number of Lincoln cents. In fact, more than 5 billion 1985 D pennies were struck. That enormous mintage should have guaranteed that the coin would remain common forever. And for the most part, it did. But coin collecting has never been only about mintage numbers. Sometimes, a coin becomes valuable because of a mistake. Other times, it becomes desirable because of exceptional condition. And occasionally, a coin captures collectors' attention because hidden varieties emerge years after it enters circulation. The Lincoln cent itself carries one of the most respected histories in American coinage. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Before Lincoln, American coins generally displayed symbolic images rather than actual people. By 1985, the Lincoln cent had already become a beloved part of American culture. Millions of children collected them. Adults stored them in jars and piggy banks. Yet few people imagined that certain examples from this year would someday attract collector interest. One reason the 1985 D penny stands out is the era in which it was made. During the early 1980s, the United States Mint faced rising metal prices. In 1982, the composition of the Lincoln cent changed dramatically. Instead of being mostly copper, the penny became primarily zinc with a thin copper coating. The 1985 D penny belongs to this modern zinc era. While this change helped reduce production costs, it also created new challenges. Zinc core cents are more vulnerable to damage, corrosion, and environmental wear. As a result, finding pristine examples decades later is far more difficult than many people realize. This is where the story becomes interesting. Most surviving 1985 D pennies show heavy circulation marks, scratches, discoloration, or wear. They spent years passing through cash registers, vending machines, and countless hands. However, A tiny number escaped circulation entirely and remained in extraordinary condition. Collectors use grading systems to evaluate coin quality. The highest grades are awarded only to coins that appear nearly flawless under magnification. When a 1985 D penny achieves one of these elite grades, its value can rise dramatically. Imagine finding a penny worth 1 cent and discovering that its condition alone makes it worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That possibility has inspired collectors to search through old bank rolls, inherited coin collections, and forgotten jars of change for decades. But condition is only part of the story. The real excitement often comes from minting errors and varieties. During the minting process, enormous machinery strikes coins at incredible speed. Whenever billions of coins are produced, mistakes inevitably occur. Some pennies emerge with doubled images, off-center strikes, die cracks, or other unusual characteristics. Among 1985 D Lincoln cents, certain error coins have become highly sought after. Collectors have reported dramatic examples featuring significant off-center strikes, broad strikes, and striking anomalies. While most 1985 D pennies remain worth face value, these rare error pieces can command substantial premiums. One particularly fascinating variety from 1985 involves double die characteristics. Under magnification, some coins display subtle doubling in specific design elements. While not every reported example receives official recognition as a major variety, the possibility of discovering unusual die features keeps collectors searching. And that search has produced some remarkable finds. There are stories of collectors examining thousands of pennies before uncovering a single valuable example. Others have discovered high-grade specimens tucked away in old mint sets or coin rolls that sat untouched for decades. The thrill comes from the uncertainty. Every penny could be ordinary, or it could be special. That mystery is what makes coin collecting so addictive. The 1985 D penny also occupies an interesting place in modern numismatic history, because it represents a period that many collectors once overlooked. For years, attention focused on older coins from the 19th century or famous rarities like the 1909 SVDB Lincoln cent. Modern pennies from the 1980s received relatively little attention. But as time passed, attitudes changed. Collectors began realizing that exceptional modern coins could be surprisingly scarce. While billions were minted, very few survived in truly elite condition. The result was growing demand for the finest known examples. Auction records began reflecting this reality. Ordinary circulated 1985 D pennies generally remain worth only a few cents. Uncirculated examples can sell for a small premium. But coins certified at the highest mint state grades have achieved prices reaching hundreds and, in exceptional cases, over $1,000 when demand and rarity align. For a coin that started life worth a single cent, that transformation is remarkable. Another intriguing aspect of the 1985 D penny involves public perception. Many people assume that age alone determines value. If a coin is old, it must be valuable. If it is newer, it cannot be worth much. The 1985 D penny proves that assumption wrong. It is not ancient. It is not made of gold. It is not one of the rarest coins in American history. Yet, under the right circumstances, it can still become highly desirable. This lesson highlights one of the most important truths in coin collecting. Rarity is often more complex than people think. Sometimes rarity comes from low mintage. Sometimes it comes from survival rates. Sometimes it comes from condition. And sometimes it comes from unexpected minting errors. The 1985 D penny sits at the intersection of several of these factors, making it an endlessly fascinating coin to study. Even today, collectors continue searching through rolls of pennies from banks, hoping to uncover a hidden gem. The odds may be small, but history has shown that valuable discoveries can happen anywhere. A forgotten coffee can in an attic, a grandparent's coin album, a dusty box in a garage, or even loose change received at a grocery store. That possibility keeps the hunt alive. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery surrounding the 1985 D Lincoln penny. Not whether every example is valuable, because most are not. The real mystery is how many extraordinary examples remain undiscovered. Somewhere, A nearly perfect specimen could still be waiting. Somewhere, an overlooked mint error could still be hidden. Somewhere, a collector's next great discovery may already be sitting unnoticed among ordinary coins. The 1985 D. Lincoln penny reminds us that treasure does not always look like treasure. Sometimes it appears as the smallest coin in your pocket, quietly waiting for someone to recognize its significance. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look at the date. Examine the mint mark. Study the condition, because history has shown that even the most ordinary-looking coin can hold an extraordinary story. And now I'm curious, have you ever searched through your spare change and found a coin that seemed unusual or valuable? Let me know, because your next penny might be worth far more than 1 cent. The coin you're about to hear about doesn't look extraordinary at first glance. It's a small copper-colored penny that millions of Americans handled every day. Most people would probably toss it into a jar, spend it without a second thought, or leave it forgotten in a drawer. But what if one seemingly ordinary 1997 D. Lincoln penny could be worth far more than a single cent? What if hidden among billions of common coins are rare examples that have turned pocket change into collector treasure? The story of the 1997 D. Lincoln penny begins in Denver, Colorado, where the United States Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies during the late 1990s. America was entering a new era. The internet was growing, technology was changing daily life, and billions of coins were flowing through the nation's economy. Among them was the humble Lincoln cent, a coin that had already become one of the most recognizable pieces of American currency. The Lincoln penny itself carries a remarkable legacy. First introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it was the first regular United States coin to feature a real historical figure. For decades, Americans carried Lincoln's portrait in their pockets, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. By 1997, the design remained familiar. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's profile faced right, accompanied by the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date. Beneath the date appeared a tiny but important letter, the D mint mark, indicating the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. On the reverse stood the famous Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. At first glance, there was nothing especially rare about the 1997 D. Lincoln penny. In fact, more than 4 billion examples were struck. That number alone would seem to guarantee that the coin could never become valuable. Yet the world of coin collecting has always been filled with surprises. Collectors know that rarity does not always come from low mintage numbers. Sometimes, rarity is created by mistakes. The minting process is incredibly precise. Massive machines strike coin blanks with tremendous pressure, creating the designs we recognize instantly. But even in a highly controlled environment, errors occasionally occur. A tiny flaw in a die, a misalignment during striking, or a production mistake can transform an ordinary coin into a sought-after rarity. This is where the mystery surrounding certain 1997 D. Lincoln pennies begins. Over the years, collectors have discovered examples showing unusual characteristics. Some display double details, where parts of the design appear slightly duplicated. Others reveal die cracks, die chips, off-center strikes, or other production anomalies. While most 1997 D pennies remain worth only face value, specific error varieties have attracted significant attention from collectors. One of the most talked about discoveries involves double die characteristics. When collectors inspect coins under magnification, they sometimes notice extra thickness or doubling on letters, numbers, or design elements. These features can dramatically increase collector interest, especially when the doubling is strong and clearly visible. Imagine searching through a box of old pennies and suddenly noticing something unusual on a coin that millions of people overlooked. That moment of discovery is one of the reasons coin collecting remains so fascinating. Every penny has a story, and every coin has the potential to reveal something unexpected. Another factor influencing the value of a 1997 D. Lincoln penny is condition. Most pennies spend years circulating through cash registers, wallets, vending machines, and pockets. During that journey, they acquire scratches, dense, and wear. But occasionally, a coin survives in nearly perfect condition. These pristine examples are known as mint state coins, and they can command surprising premiums. Professional grading companies carefully evaluate coins using a numerical scale. The difference between a mint state 65 coin and a mint state 68 coin may seem minor to a casual observer, but to collectors, those few points can represent a huge jump in rarity and value. For the 1997 D. Lincoln penny, top-grade examples have become particularly desirable. Because billions were produced and circulated heavily, finding a truly flawless specimen is much harder than most people imagine. Even tiny imperfections can lower a grade significantly. This creates an interesting paradox. A coin that was once considered extremely common can become remarkably scarce when collectors search for the highest quality examples. Auction results have demonstrated this phenomenon repeatedly. While ordinary circulated 1997 D pennies are generally worth only a few cents, exceptional uncirculated examples certified in elite grades have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The value depends heavily on rarity, condition, certification, and collector demand. Stories of unexpected discoveries continue to fuel excitement. Coin roll hunters, collectors who search through bank rolls of coins, often dream of finding a valuable error or high-grade example. Most searches yield common coins, but every so often, someone uncovers a remarkable piece hiding in plain sight. That possibility keeps the hunt alive. The 1997 D. Lincoln penny also benefits from the enduring popularity of Lincoln cent collecting. Many collectors attempt to assemble complete date and mint mark sets, covering every year and mint location. Because Lincoln cents have been produced for more than a century, they offer an accessible and exciting challenge for beginners and experts alike. As demand for complete collections grows, interest naturally extends to unusual varieties and error coins. Collectors are constantly examining older pennies, hoping to identify overlooked treasures. In some cases, coins once considered insignificant later gain recognition as important varieties. There are also fascinating mysteries surrounding how certain errors escape detection. The United States Mint employs rigorous quality control procedures, yet unusual coins still occasionally enter circulation. Each error coin raises intriguing questions. How many were produced? How many remain undiscovered? Are there more examples sitting unnoticed in collections, jars, or piggy banks across America? Those unanswered questions add an element of adventure to numismatics. The copper-plated zinc composition of the 1997 D. Lincoln penny may not seem glamorous, but the stories attached to these coins are often more valuable than the metal itself. Every coin represents a snapshot of history, a connection to a specific moment in time. The pennies struck in 1997 passed through countless hands, witnessed economic changes, and traveled across the nation. Some became ordinary pocket change. Others became collectibles. A very small number became prized treasures. Perhaps the most important lesson from the 1997 D. Lincoln penny is that value often hides where people least expect it. The world of rare coins is filled with examples of ordinary-looking pieces that later stunned collectors. A tiny minting error, an extraordinary grade, or a newly discovered variety can transform a 1-cent coin into something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That possibility captures the imagination. It reminds us that history isn't always locked away in museums or hidden inside vaults. Sometimes, it sits quietly in a coin jar, waiting for someone curious enough to look a little closer. So the next time you find a penny dated 1997 with a small D beneath the year, don't dismiss it too quickly. Examine the details. Check the condition. Look for unusual features. You may simply have a common coin worth 1 cent, or you may be holding a fascinating piece of numismatic history. And that raises an intriguing question. How many valuable coins are still hiding in everyday collections, waiting to be discovered by someone willing to search?